Alright gang, StatKing here with a review for you guys for NWA's Into the Fire pay-per-view. Pay-per-view was on December 14th, the evening at GPD Studios, in front of an audience of 150. It was a sellout, which was great for NWA. Despite having only 150 people in the audience, they definitely made it sound like it was many more in attendance in a much larger venue. So the pay-per-view started with a nice voiceover from Stu Bennett, and as soon as they cut into the arena, you can tell the crowd's hot. Like I said, there's something I like about having that one location and not touring. You're saying, people come to us as opposed to we go to where the crowds are. I mean, I guess eventually they would want to tour. That would probably be better for the bottom dollar, but at the moment they are in the studios. I mean, it kind of seems as though they might actually not want to, in a sense, because that's something that differentiates them from other companies. So the pay-per-view starts with Eli Drake and Ken Anderson. They have a pretty nice back and forth. The match moves quickly. At least it really felt like it when I was watching. It's interesting as I was timing the matches just very loosely, and this match was actually like the third longest of the night, just over 9 minutes, I think, if I remember right. So the fact that the match moved so quickly was really great, because it seemed, like everything is hitting quick, hitting hard, guys are trying to win, and I think these two are, they're old hands in the ring, as I said during the preview, so they know what they're doing, they know how to get the most out of what they're there for, and it's a really great match. Eli picks up the win. Both men are on the top rope. Anderson goes for a sunset bomb. Drake puts all his weight, forcing Anderson down to the ground. He gets on top of him, gets the win with a roll-up. Great win for Drake, positions him well for Season 2. There's a promo from Nick Aldis, and then James Storm comes out. This was a little bit weird, can't lie. There's supposed to be tension between the two of them. They're not supposed to like each other. They're not supposed to get along. So the fact that they're able to be in the same room as each other, let alone in very close proximity to each other without anything getting physical, seemed a bit weird. But I guess they're the consummate professionals, so that's good. There was an audible next, in that there was a match that was not previously announced. So we didn't know whether it was going to be Marty Bell or Thunder Rosa teaming with Melina. But now we know that it's definitely going to be Marty Bell, as we find out that Thunder Rosa is going to have a match against the debuting Tasha Steelz. So I'll freely admit I don't know that much about Tasha Steelz, but from what I saw, she can definitely go in the ring. The first match was a longer match that felt short. This was a shorter match that kind of felt long, but in a good way. Both of them looked really good. Thunder Rosa was cheered. I think the crowd didn't know Tasha Steelz as well, similar boat as myself. But it goes back to, and so it's a little weird because, Rosa's definitely the heel, but they're cheering for her because they know her more than Tasha Steelz. So this match is the shortest match on the card, and I think that, referencing what I said during the preview about Thunder Rosa still maybe recovering from injuries from her MMA match, and I'm not sure what her limitations are yet in the ring. She looked like she was able to, go 100%, but I think that they kept it, and this is what I mean by it was a shorter match, but it felt longer, is that they kind of dragged moves out. They dragged the match out, so it's fewer hits, but the hits mean more, which is good in that sense, because it provides a really sharp but nice contrast to the previous match. So Thunder Rosa picks up the win. She gets a double foot stomp onto Tasha Steelz's back from the top rope, and then right after the match, she knows she's got to get that heat back, right? Because she's the heel, so she starts beating up on Tasha Steelz, starts picking up the booze, and in response, Ashley Vox, who's going to be Allison Kay's partner later in the evening, shows up to help Tasha Steelz, but she gets a shoulder breaker and then an arm wringer. Her arms being bent back and forth to pop the elbow joint out of sync for her troubles, which puts that tag match in jeopardy. So the next match is Question Mark versus Trevor Murdoch, the one that I thought was going to start the pay-per-view. But question marks out with Aaron Stevens. There's a pretty good comedy segment here that's kind of worth checking out about the Mongolian flag and the national anthem. Apparently, question mark is I think it was 1998 acapella, #1 acapella singer in Mongolia. So Murdoch's out, they're ready to go. Question mark picks up a quick win. This match, I think, was probably around like 6 minutes from what I timed. There's no surprise with the win. They're moving quickly on to the tag title match. So it's short matches, but they're getting the job done for what they're trying to do. So next, Rock and Roll Express is out with Kingston and Homicide as backup, and the Wild Cards come out with the Dawsons as backup. I don't think I heard anything from commentary, but I would, so maybe not, but I think it would have been kind of cool to put them out on a line, and maybe they did, about that each team was able to get their respective backup by promising that backup a title match should they win. So the Wild Cards tell Dawson's, hey, you help us out. If we win, we'll try to get you the first shot. So I think that would have been a nice kind of explanation outside of just there's been physicality between the teams. That doesn't necessarily give it may give Kingston and Homicide a reason to be out there, but it doesn't explain why the Dawsons would be willing to help the Wild Cards. Because, I mean, they could probably, from their perspective, they could say, no, you lose, and then we'll try to get the titles from Rock and Roll Express. But they don't know if they're going to get a title shot, whereas if the Wild Cards are saying, hey, help us, and we'll help you, then there's more reason for them to come out. This is a really super quick match, just like the title match during the season finale, but packed a lot in. Rock and Roll Express retain. There was fighting outside towards the end between the Dawsons and Kingston and Homicide, so there's definitely, they're keeping that physicality there. The match included a suicide dive from Morton that had me a little concerned when I realized what he was going to do. Good match though, and like I said, R&R keeps the titles. Then Stu Bennett, Wade Barrett, who's on commentary, reveals the television title, which will be coming back during season 2, and I think they said at the next pay-per-view they may be crowning the champion. So after this, Eli Drake comes back out for promo, talking about how he, about the win and how he's looking forward to the world title match, and he's attacked by Ken Anderson. So this feud is going to keep going. Definitely, they're definitely keeping these two against each other, and as we'll find out later in the night, there is a very good reason as to why they don't want to get Eli Drake into the title picture. So Allison Kay's out next to the tag match, and there's a concern that it could very easily become a handicap match because we don't know what the situation is with Ashley Vox. Marty and Melina are out, but it turns out that Allison Kay does have a partner, and it's none other than a debuting ODB. So the women's tag match felt off to me. They built up ODB as the hot tag. So Allison Kay's in there getting beaten up the most, and the goal is to get to ODB. It didn't feel right. The story coming into the match was about Allison getting vengeance more than on ODB's debut. So it would have been right to me if ODB is the one getting beaten up and she's reaching for Allison Kay, the heels are pulling her back. The heels are stopping her from getting to Allison Kay. The crowd's getting amped up. They want Allison Kay in the match. They know Allison Kay wants her to give these guys just desserts for everything they've done to her. But they flipped that, and that kind of threw the match off a little bit for me. Also, the match ends with Allison and ODB picking up the win, which automatically feels wrong to me because I felt as though Marty and Melina should get the win to keep the feud going and get title shots down the road for one or both. But then on top of that, if I remember right, it's ODB that actually is the one that gets the pin, not even Allison Kay. So I'm not sure what exactly the plan was or is for the women's division at the moment, but we'll see how it develops in season 2. But that match, so the in-ring stuff itself was fine, was good. But the story they were trying to tell and how they set it all up was a bit of a miss for me. So they move on to the triple threat. Aaron Stevens has question mark with him. This match had a little too much comedy in it for me. Aaron Stevens at one point is outside of the ring. They had set up a Christmas tree by the announce table, and he decides to hide behind the Christmas tree so that Cabana and Starks can't see him, which didn't make sense because neither of them tried to leave the ring to get him. So what was he hiding? It didn't really work. At one point in time, there's also curtains, and the curtains are draped on the ground, and he's kind of hiding behind the curtain and peeking out from on the ground. Not even like standing. He's lying full out on the ground and hiding behind the curtain. He does get back in the ring from time to time, and every time he does, there's a double team from Cabana and Starks on him. But for the most part, it kind of is a Cabana and Starks singles match. And these two definitely go at it. It's a great match with kind of Aaron Stevens sprinkled in. The booking makes sense with Stevens' character, I guess, and with the finish, so I can't be too mad at it. The finish has Cabana going for one of his Superman pins that leaves him exposed. He is almost basically at the ropes, and so he's almost basically at the ropes, and on the outside is question mark. Because the ref is here counting the pin, question mark is able to give him the spike. He gives him the karate spike, and then Stevens gets into the ring, rolls Ricky Starks out, pins Cabana as question mark restrains Starks. So there's a new national champion. The crowd absolutely hates it because Aaron Stevens is really good at getting boos. Stevens celebrates with the title, and we're on to the main event. So they have a nice bit where Tim Storm talks about how much it means to him to be the person refereeing the match. Who's refereeing one of the falls, maybe two of the falls. If it goes that far, it's a great honor for him, and it means a lot to him because it means he knows what it means to the men of the ring. And it puts over James and Nick, puts over the title, the main event, the NWA, just a solid, good promo, nice and short. They have a video package, and the crowd's ready. There's a short back and forth between Aldis and Storm that starts out the match, and then Camille comes out. They had been talking in the video package about what it is exactly that Camille had said. We don't get a reveal because Nick Aldis sends her, does go to the back. I told you had the night off. And as he's doing that, or as she's leaving, Storm takes advantage with a roll-up and gets the first fall very quickly. So then he continues to bash on Aldis as Tim Storm comes in to now referee the second fall, and Hebner and Storm have to separate the two of them. Has to get James off of Nick Aldis so that Nick can have a reset. So the middle of the match is kind of the meat of the match. It's really nice back and forth. Both men are fighting in this one. They're convincing people watching that they really want to win. Aldis has plenty of experience with this. As he's gone on record, talking about how much it means to be the NWA champion, how much it means to him to be part of what brought the company back. This has been both in character and out of character. I mean, you can feel what he feels when he's saying these things and when he's cutting these promos. And James Storm is matching him in the ring when it comes to bringing that passion. Aldis picks up the second fall. James brings a chair into the ring, and Tim Storm, doing his job as a referee, says, I will disqualify you if you use this chair. James thinks better of it, and when he's getting rid of the chair, Aldis gets him into a jackknife pin that turns into a cradle, and he gets the fall. So now the two of them are starting, they're still going back at it. They gotta separate the two of them so that they can flip the coin and see who is going to referee the third fall. Hebner gets the job. The coin flip is in his favor. Funnily enough, we do not see the coin flip. They just say heads for Hebner, tails for Tim Storm, and we're told it's heads. So nicely done. And now the third fall, you can see the exhaustion set in. So it's really interesting because the match isn't really super long, compared to New Japan matches that we've seen, the title matches, or even some of the longer WWE matches. But despite that, it's convincing that they are that tired. It's each move is costing them so much. Each counter is costing them so much. It's subtlety in the storytelling because you're putting over the competitor as you're doing these things. Nick Aldis being winded puts over James Storm as someone difficult to beat. James Storm being winded does the same for Nick Aldis. So it's a nice subtlety. The crowd's definitely into that into the third fall as well. The momentum's building. You have a good bit of false finishes back and forth. There's a nice flying elbow from Aldis to Storm that only gets a 2 count. Then, of course, there's a wonderful ref bump. You kind of knew something like this might happen. Tim Storm's now back in. The finish comes when Aldis is removing or trying to remove one of the turnbuckles. James grabs him for a backwards roll, a pin, and as he does that, the momentum pulls the turnbuckle off, exposing the ring, the actual metal piece that the ropes go through in the process. When Aldis kicks out, it catapults James forward into the turnbuckle, or into the ring. It knocks him out. Aldis then applies the clover leaf. Tim Storm checks. James Storm is passed out, calls for the bell. So a very controversial finish, really good. The crowd's not that pleased. I don't think they necessarily were behind. They were chanting for Aldis many times throughout the match. So I don't know. I don't think it was definitely the fact that they wanted James to win, more so that they wanted a clean finish. But very controversial. Definitely gonna have some ramifications for season 2 because James never actually taps, and because of that ref bump, Tim wasn't technically the official referee for the fall. But all the same, Aldis has retained the title, and he's cutting a promo when the lights go out, and a very familiar piano theme is played. The man who says all his friends are dead is here. The man who replaced friends with employees is here. The CEO of Villain Enterprises has arrived in the NWA as Marty Scurll shows up. And the pay-per-view goes off the air after a nice stare down in the ring between Aldis and Marty, where Aldis looks ridiculously scared, like terrified even. And it was kind of funny because these two did have a match at Crockett Cup, and Aldis retained. But it's a different Marty Scurll. You never know. You never know when that chicken wing is going to be applied. So then Marty goes to the table to cut a promo, and the pay-per-view goes off the air. NWA has now said that on tomorrow's episode of Power that they will show the actual interview. So all in all, I'd say the pay-per-view was really great. As I said before in the beginning, I liked the small setting, and the show itself was really good. I like matches on the shorter side, provided everyone can get their moves in and tell a good story, because it keeps the momentum of the pay-per-view itself moving. You feel as though things are moving quickly. Everything is can't miss. Everything is must see, to quote Miz. This was definitely the case here, except for maybe the Rosa Steeles match, but that's kind of, they were kind of dragging it out because of Rosa's, to me, I don't know for sure, but to me it felt as though they were dragging it out a little bit to kind of stretch what they could get out of the limited amount of time because of Rosa's injuries, to me again. And like I said, the women's tag match was a little weird, but all in all, it was great action, great development for season 2. Marty Scurll's a great reveal and a great get. It's a nice hook for people to be interested in season 2, especially now that, we know that Marty's contract with Ring of Honor is up. You continue the Drake and Anderson feud. Nick's going to be busy with Scurll. You can have another match between Drake and Anderson, then maybe move on, depending. I'd give the pay-per-view maybe like a 7.5 to 8, somewhere in that range. Maybe the tag title match could have been a little longer, but I understand the limitations due to the age of Rock and Roll Express. I think it would have pushed it a little bit higher. Not the overall pay-per-view was maybe a set for people to come out of, because so normally people just when they're entering the show or they're entering the area, call it an arena, so studio. When they're entering the studio, they're coming through a curtain, and it's just a black curtain. Now for the pay-per-view, where the crowd is sitting, they're sitting up in bleachers that are on one side of the ring, and at the top there's a walkway, and these guys are coming out of the walkway and then walking down through the crowd. So it seems a little weird because the crowd is continually turned to see for the entrances. And it works the first time as a kind of a novelty thing, but then each person coming out kind of is a little weird. So maybe, I think maybe a set, but I understand, limited budgets, you're trying to get done what you can with what constraints you have. That's the case with every show. I mean, even if you look at WWE live events that they turn into network events, there's nothing that special about the set. It's still a regular WWE live event set, and they just spruce up the ring apron and spruce up the turnbuckles. Actually, I think in the case of StatKing, they didn't even do anything with the turnbuckles. It was just regular turnbuckles, and not even the Raw and SmackDown turnbuckles, just metal pole. So I can see why it would have been a little bit difficult to pull that off. But I think it's something that added a little bit more production value to the pay-per-view as opposed to just it. I mean, obviously we know it's going to look very much like an episode of Power, but something to differentiate it other than having people just walk through the crowd. Besides that, really great pay-per-view. It's definitely got me interested to see what's going to happen next with the different storylines. I know my predictions were a bit off, but that was because I thought that James was going to be winning the title, not thinking that Marty's coming in. But I think that we have a situation where James is eventually going to get the title after that Marty match, because I don't think Marty is going to be hanging around in NWA for too long, because his friends aren't actually dead. So I'll see you guys next time for the next episode of NWA Power. This has been the StatKing. Thanks for watching, guys.